Hello everyone, back tuning in today's second video. So I've already done the 5-day forecast, so you can find video to that here on the homepage. Just scroll down a bit, it's underneath the link ads. There's also a written version, you get that via buttons at the top of the page. A lot of high pressure coming up during the next 5 days, but it looks like its days are rather numbered, and as we approach Christmas, it looks like the Atlantic could well be stepping up quite a few gears, and we'll have the 21st Christmas update tonight. I warn you now, if you want a cold and snowy Christmas, it might not be very good, and just come back this evening and you'll see what's going on. But it really looks like the Atlantic could be revving up, not just 1 or 2 gears, but 4 or 5 gears as we get through towards the Christmas period. But I'll have more about that tonight around 7 o'clock with the 21st Christmas update. This video is going to be having a look at the JMA for the next 3 months. It's just updated. It covers January, February and March. Not sure how seriously we should take these long-range models at the moment, because not sure they've done terribly well for December so far. Most of the models were indicating quite a cold start to the winter, and actually we're having anything but. I'm going to go through the charts now. They're there, we might as well have a look at them and see what they're showing. But as ever, with all long-range models and long-range output, long-range forecasts, big health warning and dose of salt is always needed. Before I get on with the 3-month update with JMA, just say about the ads. There's neat articles on all the pages. Have a browse through widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you're going to be helping us to pay for the website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads, both pages, which own our content. When you watch, they close back up again. Just help Dave gather it. And the Christmas shop is still open. So if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click the green button that says Christmas Shop, takes you to our Christmas Shop page. From there, you go through the Amazon banners, and because you've gone from Gazovitz to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you're buying. Big thank you to everybody for their support for the website over the past few weeks, doing their Christmas shopping at Amazon through Gazovitz. There's still time to get the presents out to you, but of course it is getting on now. It's Christmas Eve, it's 10 days today, so it's getting on, but yeah, there is still time to get those Christmas presents to you. Right, get on with the update there. We're going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomalies for January, February, March, looking from the pole down from the Northern Hemisphere. So this is the pole just here. That's the North Pole there. Mid-latitudes are around the edges, of course, so that's America just there. This is the UK and Europe just here. Then over here we've got Russia, and going back through the Pacific in towards America over there. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. The brighter colours, yellows, oranges, may extrapolate to high pressure, and the dark colours, so blues, extrapolate to low pressure. What we have for January then, in terms of the anomaly, is a ridge in the Atlantic. It also appears to be extending up towards Greenland. Then we've got a ridge over the pole and down into western parts of Russia. In between, we've got a trough of low pressure through many central and western parts of Europe, with the jet stream probably doing something a little bit like that. So it's a rather complicated looking anomaly, actually, that the January, but I think it does suggest the chance of some cooler conditions at times. I wouldn't necessarily go overboard and say it's very cold scene, and the reason is that I would have thought it's largely Atlantic based, with the air coming in that sort of direction. Also, with the position of the trough, we might bring in some air from the east as well, but if we do, it could have a southerly sort of component to it. So it's a rather complicated chart, but I would suggest there is the possibility there of some cooler, perhaps not overly cold, but some cooler conditions at times. We go through into February, and this one is placing quite a extensive block right over top of the pole and extending it down towards the north of Scotland. It also extends down in towards Scandinavia. I think this could be very settled, and potentially this is quite cold. Do you remember last month the JMA model was indicating that excuse me, a pattern that could deliver us into quite a cold scenario for February. I think we still see signs of that with the JMA for this month. I think this looks potentially a colder scenario than what we have signalled in January. And then we go through into March, and this also looks quite blocked. So all 3 months, January, February, March, are not without interest from a colder perspective. This one again, lots of above average heights to the north, trough of low pressure out to the west, and the mean flow is probably doing something a little bit like that. So we could be placed on the cooler side of the jet there as well. These charts are very close to being quite a cold and wintry winter, but perhaps not quite lining up quite right. As that's been the story of February, December, really, so far. We're very close to having it quite cold, but just hasn't quite lined up correctly. And it looks like we might have a bit of this going on through the next 3 months as well. This is very close to bringing in cold air, and it could indeed bring some cold air down into this trough at times, but the flow probably does have a bit of a southerly component there. The way the trough and the ridge are lining up in March, so I wouldn't go overboard. Again, it could be a coolish scene, there could be some wintry potential, but it doesn't look a classically cold month. Let's see what the temperature and precipitation anomalies are looking like for the next 3 months with the JMA. So we come back to January, and this is it from the tropical and mid-latitude view. So the tropics are just here, that's around the area, the equator just there. Then we've got the northern hemisphere, of course, northern side. Southern hemisphere is on the southern side. You can't see the polar regions, but the South Pole is down there. And the North Pole, again, that's off the chart. We're just looking at it from the pole down, of course. The North Pole is up here, again, very much off the chart. The British Isles is right there in the top right-hand corner of the chart, as you're looking at it, right, just so everybody knows where everybody is. So a reminder of what we've got coming up for January. We've got the ridge in the Atlantic, and it seems to be extending north at times. Then we've got this trough, which is a bit cut off to the south. We thought the mean wind flow could be coming from a northwesterly type direction, with potentially some cooler, perhaps at times even colder incursions, but not a classically cold setup. So precipitation for January looks like that. It's a bit drier than average in the north, a little bit wetter than average down in the south. That's because we've got that trough, of course, to the south of us. Temperature anomalies are generally coming out just a little bit on the milder side of average. So it isn't a classically cold month, and that's to be expected really because of the position of the troughs and the ridges. So it's a little bit on the milder than average side, close to normal, and there would be some cooler potential in there as well. If we have a look at the mean wind arrows, always a bit difficult to make these out, but the mean wind direction looks like it's from sort of a west-northwest, maybe with a bit of a northerly component at times as well. So it's from that sort of direction with the wind arrows. So yes, there is cool potential, maybe even at times cold potential, but not a classically wintry month signalled in January. February places that ridge more towards the east and northeast of us, so I thought that one could be bringing in more of an easterly flow. You'd expect this to be a drier month. Let's have a look and see whether it is. And yes, most parts of the country are going drier than average in February. And what about the temperatures? I would have thought they should be quite cold, but actually the model is still just really indicating average to slightly milder than average temperatures. What are the winds doing? Let's have a look at the mean wind direction. And this one looks really easterly. So the black arrows, and they're always difficult to make out, but the black arrows are coming from the east. If we go over to this side of the chart, you can see how far from the east they're coming. So the black arrows are going down there from the north across western Russia, and then they're going easterly right way across Europe. Now that to me looks like it should be a cold month. That's a proper easterly. There's no sort of southerly component getting mixed up in that. There's no air coming up from the south and then going round like that, or if we was to come over here doing something like that, there's no southerly component. That's just a direct easterly that's coming out of Russia. So to me that does look like it should be colder. January, yes, I go along with the idea, but it's not especially cold because it's more of a northwesterly flow. But February, that looks to me like it should be really quite a cold month, potentially with easterlies like that, very cold. You wouldn't rule out very cold conditions at times in February if it came off like that. So I'm in a bit of a disagreement with the temperature forecast for February based on how the winds are coming directly from the east. I would have thought that should be colder than that. Then we go through into March, and this one looks much more unsettled. We've got this deep trough out to the west of us. Remember, as we're going further out, of course, confidence is falling inevitably. So this is with very low confidence, but it's placing a trough of low pressure out to the west of us, and then there was still quite a bit of high pressure going on up to the north, which you can't see because it's off the chart. So the temperature anomaly for the precipitation anomaly, I should say, for March comes out significantly wetter than average. You go from that dry February into what looks like quite a wet month in March, which is fairly unusual. Normally March carries on from February, and then temperatures, those are coming out a little bit milder than average again. So all three winter months, or all 3 months, January, February, March, from the JMA being signalled be a little bit on the milder than average side. And the wind arrows are, they're essentially coming from like a northeasterly type direction around this trough. So the mildest of the air with the trough is going to the south in that direction, and there is air from the northeast coming into that trough. But if we go over here, you can see that unlike in February, where the wind arrows were doing something like that, that was general suggestion in February, now we are bringing up a southerly component. So we're bringing the southerlies up and then turning them round into northeasters. And if we come over here, again, we're doing something a little bit like that. So that would bring milder air up from the south and then bring it around the top via the east. Very unusual pattern. Not sure about it at all, really, whether that's actually how things will come off. But that's what models suggest. So that's why it's not a particularly cold month in March. Much more unsettled, and there would be wintry potential. I think if it was to pan out, as the JMA is suggesting, all 3 of these months, January, February and March, do have some wintry potential. Not classically wintry in January and March by any means, but there will be some wintry potential. But February is the interesting one, because that was a straight easterly, and the air was originating from the north and then coming round from the east across Europe. I have no idea why the temperature anomaly wouldn't be colder than average from the JMA, other than these long-range models do tend to overcook the temperatures a little bit. And if it was to pan out as that model, or as this model is suggesting, the February with those easterlies from a long way east and of sort of Arctic sourced air, I think that would be a colder than average month, most definitely. So that's how it's looking. It's a mixed bag, and I'm not sure how seriously we should take these anyway, because I don't, excuse me, necessarily think they have got December all that accurately correct, but we'll find out when we get to the end of December, of course. But anyway, the charts are there, might as well look at them, and that's what they're showing for January to March. February, I think, holds the greatest interest from a cold perspective, but the other two do have some cool or cold potential at times. Right, this evening we've got a 21st Christmas update. I warn you now, if you want a cold and snowy Christmas, I don't think it's going to make for very good viewing, but we'll see what the GFS model suggests at 7 o'clock this evening, and that's all for now, and thanks for watching.